One philosopher uncovered a profound truth about why truly intelligent people often spark unease in others, and it's far deeper than you might imagine. Friedrich Nietzsche, a titan of thought, understood that the moment you genuinely begin to think for yourself, you become a force. Not violent, but dangerous. Dangerous to cherished illusions, to the soothing comfort of convenient lies, and to the pervasive matrix of collective thought that holds so many captive. I'm about to reveal precisely why your journey of mental evolution creates discomfort in others, and crucially, how to embrace that very discomfort as an undeniable sign that you are on the path of authentic growth. This journey begins with confronting a brutal truth. It is in the fires of chaos, not the soft embrace of comfort, that unbreakable minds are forged. Haven't you felt it? That subtle, yet unmistakable distance that begins to grow between you and those around you as you start to question, to probe, to seek beyond the surface. When you consciously choose to stop accepting pre-packaged answers, when you transition from merely reacting to truly thinking, the world around you shifts. People become uncomfortable. They might mask it with dismissive jokes, with advice veiled as concern, or with an awkward silence when your insights venture deeper than superficial chatter. But beneath these social veneers, something far more significant is unfolding. This realization will forever alter how you perceive every social interaction. Your mental evolution isn't just a personal journey, it's a seismic shift that threatens the very foundations of others' comfort zones. And in that perceived threat lies your immense power. Nietzsche famously wrote, "You need chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star." This isn't mere poetic imagery, it's a surgical insight into the human psyche. Reflect for a moment. When did you experience your most profound growth? Was it when life was smooth and predictable, or when you felt shattered, lost, compelled to gather the fragments and rebuild yourself with your own hands, brick by resilient brick? Most people instinctively recoil from chaos. They yearn for normalcy, for life to be effortlessly easy, a well-trodden path. But you are different. While others flee from discomfort, you learn to walk within it, embracing its lessons. While they desperately cling to external stability, you courageously forge your own meaning, creating an inner compass that guides you. And that, in its purest form, terrifies them. Nietzsche also declared, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." Yet, his meaning was far more radical than commonly understood. He was speaking of the necessary death of your need for approval, the severing of your addiction to others' opinions, that desperate hunger for external validation that keeps so many weak, dependent, and tethered. The demise of this need is indeed terrifying for many. Most would rather remain enslaved to the expectations of others than face the exhilarating, yet frightening freedom of self-definition. But for you, it is liberation. For when you cease outsourcing your intrinsic worth to the judgments of the world, something extraordinary blossoms within you, something that makes you truly formidable to the status quo. You begin to embody what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, not a fantastical superhero, but something far more potent, a being who fearlessly creates their own values, their own moral compass, rather than passively following the dictates of the crowd. You stop asking, "Is this allowed?" And instead, with unwavering conviction, you begin to ask, "Is this worthy of me?" This fundamental shift in perspective changes everything. Your very presence becomes unsettling to those around you, not because you are aggressive or confrontational, but because you stand as a beacon of authenticity in a world so accustomed to wearing masks and performing shallow scripts. If this resonates deep within you, if you feel that quiet, uncomfortable space growing between you and others, know this: you are not alone. You are simply ahead, blazing a trail. But here is the unspoken cost, the challenging truth no one readily mentions. The stronger your mind becomes, the more acutely you will feel a sense of solitude. You will inevitably shed friendships built on superficiality. You will be labeled arrogant, strange, distant. People will attempt to pull you back into the comfortable embrace of mediocrity, and paradoxically, that is precisely how you know you are on the right path. Because true strength isn't about conforming or fitting in. It's about possessing yourself so completely, so unequivocally, that no one else holds the power to define you. Nietzsche implored, "The individual must struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. No price is too high for possessing yourself." Most people simply cannot fathom, let alone handle, this profound level of freedom. They instinctively retreat to the perceived safety of collective thinking, of ready-made beliefs, of borrowed identities. Yet, you have journeyed this far. That alone sets you apart. Your discomfort is not a flaw. It is a vital feature. Your loneliness is not a weakness. It is the sacred space where your authentic self finally has the room to breathe, to expand, to truly come alive. So, yes, your mind terrifies others, because while they choose to dwell in comforting illusions, you have bravely chosen the uncomfortable, liberating truth. The question isn't whether your free thinking will disturb others. The real question, the one that truly matters, is this: are you brave enough to keep going anyway? The narcissist's projections don't just inflict pain, they insidiously rewrite your internal narrative. Their gnawing shame becomes your pervasive self-doubt. Their explosive rage morphs into your gnawing anxiety. Their profound emptiness manifests as your suffocating depression. You literally absorb their psychological toxins until the very essence of your own identity begins to dissolve. Jung accurately called this psychological poisoning, and he wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Yet, for empaths, this pain isn't merely personal, it resonates with a collective echo. You are processing shadow material that belongs to generations of unresolved trauma, becoming an alchemist for ancestral wounds. The narcissist forces you into what Jung called the nigredo, the blackening phase of psychological alchemy, where everything solid and familiar dissolves into seemingly insurmountable chaos. Jung, with his profound wisdom, wrote, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. But to uncover that inherent order, one must first possess the courage and resilience to survive the disorder." Yet, here is Jung's groundbreaking discovery about this poisoning process. The human psyche possesses an astonishing immune system. 2. Strategic silence. When challenged, questioned, or provoked, respond with deliberate, calculated pauses instead of immediate, reactive words. Machiavelli observed that powerful individuals make others wait for their pronouncements, and this deliberate delay imbues their words with greater weight and authority. This isn't rudeness. It's a conscious rejection of the assumption that you owe instant responses to every curiosity or confrontation. 3. Emotional firewalls. Construct clear, impenetrable boundaries between your inner emotional experience and your public presence. Machiavelli advised, "Be like a fortress. Let people see the walls, but never the layout inside. Feel whatever you need to feel in private, but externally, maintain a consistent, unreadable energy that cannot be manipulated or exploited." This is about protecting your inner sanctuary. Want undeniable proof? Think of the person who most intensely irritates you. What specific trait of theirs grates on your soul? That, my friend, is often a reflection of your own hidden fear staring back at you. But this is not even the most astonishing part. Masks, like brittle glass, invariably crack under pressure. Here's where to look for those revealing fissures. The over-explainer. When someone launches into elaborate justifications before you've even posed a question, they aren't trying to convince you. They are desperately trying to convince themselves. It's anxiety cloaked in the guise of logic. The comedian's curse. Constant humor, a relentless stream of jokes, is often emotional armor. The class clown isn't always happy. They are frequently shielding a pain too profound, too raw, to articulate directly. The subject changer. Gently introduce a topic of deep emotion and watch them deftly pivot to the weather, work, or anything else entirely. Your once vibrant empathy feels utterly dead. Your boundless hope feels poisoned to its core. Your innate ability to trust feels shattered beyond any hope of repair. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But for the empath at rock bottom, it feels as though there is no self left to accept." You have absorbed such an overwhelming volume of foreign psychological material that your authentic self has been buried alive. This is the heart of Jung's Nigredo, the blackening phase of psychological alchemy, where every seemingly solid aspect of your being dissolves into formless chaos. Jung observed, "We cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses." Yet, accepting this profound psychological death feels utterly impossible when you no longer even know who is doing the accepting. You have been so utterly consumed by the inner worlds of others that you've tragically lost all contact with your own. But here is Jung's profound understanding of this dissolution, an insight that fundamentally alters everything. He penned, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." This powerful choice only becomes truly possible after the false self, that carefully constructed persona, dies completely. The old self must utterly perish before the authentic, unyielding self can finally emerge. And the narcissist, in their relentless, destructive assault on your identity, accidentally becomes the unwitting destroyer of your false self, that identity meticulously constructed on pleasing others and painstakingly avoiding conflict. This is why I refer to narcissists as unwitting shamans. They perform a psychological dismemberment, a painful but necessary initiation that forces individuation in ways that decades of conventional therapy might never achieve. Jung wrote, "The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong." The narcissist pushes you so far into psychological nonsense that you are compelled, by sheer inner necessity, to excavate and redefine your own profound sense of meaning and truth. 1. They never explained themselves to those who hadn't earned explanations. They understood that over-explanation signals insecurity and provides ammunition for future manipulation. The empath who survives narcissistic abuse doesn't just understand this quote, they embody it at a cellular, visceral level because they have been stripped bare of every single false identity. Jung was captivated by alchemy because he saw it as a potent metaphor for psychological transformation. The empath's journey perfectly mirrors what Jung called the opus contra naturam, the work against nature that produces something entirely new, something radically evolved. What emerges from this psychological crucible is not the same empath who entered the relationship. It is what I call the integrated empath, someone who maintains their beautiful sensitivity but now surrounds it with unshakable, unreachable psychological boundaries. Jung meticulously documented this profound transformation in his concept of the transcendent function, the psyche's miraculous ability to create something entirely new and whole from the dynamic union of opposites. The empath who survives has integrated their shadow and their light, their victimhood and their victor, their wounds and their hard-won wisdom. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But here lies the crucial difference. The narcissist remains stubbornly unconscious, trapped in their repetitive patterns, while the empath becomes hyperconscious, profoundly aware. This integration doesn't just create what Jung called psychological sovereignty. It births what I term shadow immunity. You become literally impervious to manipulation because you have developed an innate, intuitive ability to perceive psychological projections before they even have a chance to land. It's akin to developing night vision. After being forced to navigate a world of complete darkness, the unseen becomes crystal clear. The narcissist's cunning tactics that once devastated you now effortlessly roll off like water from glass. 3. The weakness exploiter. These people appear supportive when you are strong, but become subtly hostile or competitive when you reveal any vulnerability. They unconsciously prey on perceived weakness. Machiavelli's test. Mention a small concern or challenge. If they offer advice that makes you feel worse or implies you're incapable, they are exploiting weakness. Jung penned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The transformed empath has actively brought manipulation tactics into the full light of consciousness, thereby rendering them utterly powerless. You can discern the subtle strings before the puppet show even begins. But here is where the transformation becomes truly awe-inspiring. The integrated empath doesn't just passively resist manipulation, their very presence actively disrupts it. Jung called this the constellation effect, when one person's elevated consciousness profoundly impacts everyone around them. Jung observed, "As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being." The transformed empath becomes this very light, not the naive, easily extinguished light that gets consumed, but a fierce, unwavering beacon that exposes shadows wherever it bravely shines. You've reached the point where manipulation attempts feel transparent, almost absurdly obvious, and utterly ineffective. You truly see through the matrix. Jung dedicated years to meticulously documenting archetypes, the universal patterns of human experience. But he identified one profound archetype that emerges only through extreme psychological testing, what I call the shadow walker. This is someone who has journeyed into the deepest psychological hell and returned, not empty-handed, but with forbidden knowledge, a profound understanding of the human condition. The shadow walker archetype embodies what Jung called the wounded healer, but with a critical distinction. Traditional wounded healers heal others through their wounds, sharing their journey of recovery. Shadow walkers, however, heal others through their profound wholeness, through the living embodiment of their integrated self. Jung wrote, "Everyone you meet knows something you don't know but need to know." 2. Information control for information harvesters. Answer their questions with questions. Offer vague responses to personal inquiries, while subtly gathering intelligence about their true motivations. Example response: "Why do you ask?" Or, "What makes you curious about that specific detail?" This instantly reverses the dynamic, placing them on the defensive. Jung observed, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own soul." This is precisely why your presence becomes so profoundly disruptive after your transformation. You are no longer a passive participant in the collective unconsciousness that Jung identified as the root of much human suffering. You have bravely stepped outside the matrix of projection and manipulation, choosing a path of conscious awareness. Jung wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. The shadow walker has won this struggle completely. You have developed what I call tribal immunity, the remarkable ability to maintain your individual, sovereign consciousness, even when surrounded by the pervasive currents of group unconsciousness. But this profound victory often comes with a unique form of isolation. Jung called it the loneliness of the individuated. The inherent price of heightened consciousness is a degree of separation from the unconscious masses. 5. Independence demonstration for loyalty testers. Refuse to participate in their artificial conflicts. Make decisions based on your own judgment and principles, rather than succumbing to their emotional manipulation. Example response: "I don't see this as a choice between you and anyone else. I'm going to do what makes sense." Then, act independently and with clear conviction. The most sophisticated layer of Machiavelli's system involves advanced perception management. While basic untouchability shields you from direct predators, advanced perception management allows you to subtly influence outcomes without visible effort. He studied Caterina Sforza, one of Renaissance Italy's most formidable women, who controlled entire political situations through what he called strategic presence, the uncanny ability to influence people's decisions simply by being in the room. Dr. Jung discovered that highly individuated individuals become what I call consciousness mirrors. Their very presence gently, yet powerfully, compels others to see themselves clearly, often for the very first time. The transformed empath evolves into this type of mirror. But unlike the passive mirrors, they once were reflecting back only what others wanted to see. They now reflect back an unvarnished truth. This creates what Jung called projection withdrawal. When people can no longer successfully project their shadow onto you, they are undeniably forced to confront it within themselves. Her method involved 4 phases. Some individuals will resent you for this mirroring effect. They will label you as cold, changed, or even irrational. Jung understood this reaction perfectly, writing, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Yet, most people tragically prefer irritation to profound understanding. Others, however, will be inexplicably drawn to your transformation like moths to a vibrant flame. They sense something profoundly different about you, a quality of presence that feels both powerfully magnetic and subtly dangerous. Jung called this the numinous effect, when archetypal energy becomes visibly manifest in human form. If people have started treating you differently after your transformation, it's because your energy has shifted, and everyone around you has felt it. But the most profound and hopeful effect of all happens with other empaths who are still ensnared in narcissistic dynamics. Your very existence becomes irrefutable proof that escape is possible, that radical transformation is real, that they do not have to remain psychological prisoners forever. Jung identified a profound paradox in psychological development. True power originates not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself so completely that others simply cannot control you. The transformed empath embodies this paradox with effortless grace. They become incredibly powerful precisely because they no longer harbor a need for power over others. They have discovered what Jung called the treasure hard to attain, complete self-possession. Jung wrote, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." The transformed empath embodies this principle entirely. Their boundaries are not threats or ultimatums. They are simply their unwavering reality. They don't announce their limits, they embody and live them. This creates what I call paradoxical magnetism. The more self-contained and sovereign you become, the more genuinely others are drawn to your authentic light. The less you crave their approval, the more they instinctively seek yours. The less available you are for their emotional dumping, the more profoundly they respect your sacred boundaries. Jung wrote, "Where love reigns, there is no will to power, and where the will to power is paramount, love is lacking." The transformed empath has transcended the will to power through love, but crucially, through love of self first. This profound self-love isn't narcissistic. It's what Jung termed appropriate self-regard, the foundational bedrock of all healthy relationships. You can only authentically give to others what you truly possess within yourself, and the transformed empath possesses something incredibly rare and precious, unshakable self-worth, forged in the crucible of adversity. Jung observed, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." The empath who has survived narcissistic abuse has been forced into a radical, uncompromising self-acceptance, not the comfortable, complacent kind, but the fierce, resilient kind forged in fire. But here is where the paradox becomes even more profound. By courageously refusing to be anyone's emotional dumping ground, you paradoxically become available for authentic, deep connection in ways you never were before. By unequivocally saying no to manipulation, you create sacred space for genuine, unconditional love to flourish. Jung wrote, Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. The transformed empath understands this delicate balance viscerally. They can hold sacred space for others' darkness without absorbing it into their own precious system. You evolve into what Jung called a container, but now you are a conscious container, imbued with clear, impenetrable boundaries, no longer an unconscious sponge indiscriminately soaking up everyone's psychological waste. Jung identified that some individuals are called to what he termed the guardian function, protecting others from psychological predators simply through their very existence, through their embodied truth. The transformed empath often embodies this guardian archetype, not through aggressive confrontation, but through the quiet power of their impenetrable boundaries, which serve as an inspiring model for others. Jung wrote, "To ask the right question is already half the solution of a problem. Your boundaries become that pivotal question, compelling others to examine their own psychological patterns. You become what I call a boundary beacon, living, breathing proof that psychological sovereignty is not just an ideal, but an achievable reality." Other empaths witness your profound transformation and begin to believe that their own freedom is truly possible. This guardian function operates through what Jung called morphic resonance. Your elevated consciousness level literally lifts the consciousness of those around you without a single word needing to be spoken. You don't have to do anything except simply be authentically yourself. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But the transformed empath's reactions are now conscious choices, rather than unconscious compulsions. You choose which chemical reactions to participate in, based on what profoundly serves your highest good, rather than what others demand or need from you. This discerning selectivity isn't cruelty, it is the ultimate expression of consciousness." Jung understood that indiscriminate, boundless giving is often an unconscious addiction to being needed, rather than genuine, discerning compassion. Jung observed, "Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research." For countless empaths, this extensive research phase includes decades of unconscious absorption patterns. The profound transformation represents a triumphant graduation from this research into the vibrant realm of conscious living. You become a guardian not through preaching or teaching, but through the powerful act of embodiment. Months 9 to 12. Integration. These behaviors become so ingrained, so natural, that they no longer require conscious effort. You have transformed from someone people attempt to manage into someone they instinctively respect and, perhaps, slightly fear disappointing. Jung, however, issued a crucial warning about what he called the integration trap, the subtle danger of identifying so completely with your transformation that you become rigid, swinging to the opposite extreme. Some transformed empaths mistakenly transition from being completely porous to becoming completely closed off. They confuse hardness with true strength and isolation with genuine protection. But true integration, what Jung magnificently called the union of opposites, means maintaining both your profound empathy and your unyielding boundaries, your radiant openness and your sharp discernment, your boundless compassion and your unwavering standards. The ultimate goal isn't to cease feeling, it is to learn to feel consciously. Jung wrote, "Emotion, which is suffering, ceases to be suffering as soon as we form a clear and precise picture of it." The integrated empath feels everything, yet is consumed by nothing. They can witness another's pain without absorbing it, offer heartfelt support without sacrificing their own well-being, and love deeply without ever losing their true self. This delicate, sacred balance requires what Jung called constant vigilance. The old, insidious patterns of absorption and codependency will inevitably attempt to resurface, especially during moments of stress or vulnerability. But once you have tasted the intoxicating freedom of psychological sovereignty, You can never truly revert to unconscious servitude. Your psyche has been profoundly rewired at too deep a level. Jung firmly believed that individual transformation inevitably ignites collective transformation. He wrote, "The individual is the only reality. The further we move away from the individual towards abstract ideas, the more likely we are to fall into error." The transformed empath creates what I call consciousness ripples. Their individual freedom grants others unspoken permission to seek and claim their own liberation. This happens not through preaching or didactic teaching, but through authentic embodiment. People instinctively sense something profoundly different about your energy and begin, perhaps unconsciously, to question their own entrenched patterns. You become living proof that emotional abuse doesn't have to cast a permanent shadow, that empathy does not demand self-sacrifice, and that sensitivity can powerfully coexist with unyielding strength. Some individuals will inevitably try to pull you back into old patterns through guilt, subtle manipulation, or manufactured emotional emergencies. Jung called this the crab bucket effect, the unconscious resistance to another's growth. But your profound transformation has rendered you immune to these insidious tactics. You recognize them as mere projections of others' own trapped energy, rather than legitimate calls for help. If you recognize yourself in this awe-inspiring transformation journey, know that your healing has truly become your superpower. The empath who absorbs the narcissist's darkness and survives doesn't just heal, they evolve into an entirely new, luminous form of consciousness that Jung could only hint at in his profound writings. You become irrefutable proof that the human psyche is far more resilient and capable than we ever dared to imagine. That profound consciousness can emerge from the darkest, most harrowing circumstances. That authentic power emanates not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself completely. The narcissist deluded themselves into believing they were consuming your light. Instead, they accidentally forged it into something utterly unbreakable, a diamond of the soul. They thought they were annihilating your empathy. Instead, they refined it into a conscious, discerning compassion that can never again be exploited. Your magnificent transformation becomes a radiant beacon for other empaths still trapped in psychological prisons, showing them that freedom isn't merely a possibility, it's an inevitable destiny once you truly grasp the profound rules of this intricate game of life. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." Your arduous journey through narcissistic abuse forced you to look inside so deeply, so courageously, that you discovered the indestructible core of your very being. That core was always there, waiting. The narcissist, in their unwitting role, merely cleared away everything that wasn't authentically you. Your sensitivity was never your weakness. It was, and always will be, your superpower, waiting to be fully activated through conscious, unwavering integration. Thank you for courageously walking this path of profound transformation with me. I'll see you in the next level of consciousness.